how to find missing angles when we're given an expression for a angle rather than just a number. So we're going to be given expressions like you see here in example 1. We're told that angle A is that expression, angle B is that expression, and we need to figure out what is the value of x. So we're going to identify the relationship first. So we want to think about how are these two angles related. That's going to determine how we set up the equation. Then we're going to solve for x. Sometimes you'll also need to do step 3 where you plug in your value to solve for the angle measurement. Sometimes you actually don't even need to do step 3. You'll be done just by solving for x. Alright, so identify the relationship first. What's the relationship between these two angles? So angle A and angle B, together, they're making this perfect 90-degree angle. We call those complementary angles. They add up to 90. That's going to help us set up this equation. That determines the entire equation. We know that this plus that adds up to 90 degrees. X plus 4 plus 3x plus 2 equals 90 degrees. You know how to solve an equation like this. We're going to combine like terms. That's 1x plus 3x. That becomes 4x. 4 plus 2, that becomes 6. And that equals 90 still. We'll box our 4x, cancel out the 6, and get 4x equals 84, and then divide by 4 on both sides. So x is 21. There's some times where you might be done with the question there. Most of the time you're going to be really solving for one of these two angles. Here we're going to plug it into both. We're substituting it in place of that x, so we'll do 21 in place of this x, and then do plus 4. So angle A is 25. Same idea here. In place of that x, we'll put 21 in parentheses, and then add 2 to that. So 3 times 21 is 63, plus 2 is 65. You can check your answer. This plus this, we said in the beginning, they have to add up to 90. 25 plus 65 does add up to 90, so we must have done that correctly. All right, here we just have to find the value of x, so we don't need to do that substitution step at the end. We know that this is 113, and we know this is represented by that expression. We also can see together that angle and that angle, they form this straight line. That's the relationship. These angles are supplementary, which means they add to 180 degrees. There's always 180 degrees in a straight line like this. So I'm going to set up that equation. This plus this, so 9x minus 5 plus 113 adds up to 180. We're going to combine like terms. Get 9x plus 108 equals 180. Subtract 108 from both sides. We get that 9x equals 72. And we divide by 9 on both sides, so x is 8. This is just asking for the value of x, so we are all done with that question. I guess if you wanted to check yourself, you could plug it in here and make sure that this gives you the right value. 9 times 8 is 72, minus 5 is 67. 67 plus 113 is 180. All right, now we want to find the measure of dBA. That is this angle, D to B to A. We don't know anything about dBA here, but we can find x just using these two expressions. This and this, dBE and ABC. Those are vertical angles. That's going to tell us how to set up the equation. Remember that the relationship tells you exactly how these angles are related. It tells you how to set up the equation. We saw in the first example, they were complementary. Those added up to 90. Second example, those added up to 180 because those are supplementary. Vertical, we know that these are equal to each other. We're going to put an equal sign directly in between these two expressions. 4x minus 14 equals 2x plus 7. Those are the three different kinds of equations that we might need to set up. Either they add to 90 because they're complementary, they add to 180 because they're supplementary, or they're equal to each other because they're vertical. So now I have an x on both sides. I need to combine like terms between sides. I'm going to do the opposite of a positive 2x. I'm going to do minus 2x on both sides. That gives me 2x minus 14 equals that positive 7 comes down. I'm going to add 14 to both sides. Gives me 2x equals 21. And then we divide by 2. So x is 10.5. Alright, so I'm trying to get to dBA. That doesn't directly help me there, but I can figure out this value. I'm going to take that x value and substitute it in place of this x. So 2 times 10.5 plus 7. 2 times 10.5 is 21, plus 7 tells me that this expression is really 28. dBA and ABC put together make a straight line. So if this is 28, this has to be the rest of that straight line, the rest of that 180. Start that over. The rest of that 180. Altogether, I know that's 180. I know that this part is 28, so I'm going to subtract those two and find out that that's 152. Right, angle A and angle B are supplementary angles. They add up to 180. Find the measures of each angle using the given information. So I'm given these two expressions. I know that they're supplementary. That tells me how to set up my equation. 7x plus 33 plus the other one plus this expression, negative 3x plus 83 adds up to a total of 180. We're going to combine like terms. I'm going to add these two together. So 7x plus a negative 3x, that's 4x. 33 plus 83 is 116. Now I can start solving. I'm going to subtract 116 on both sides. Get that 4x equals 64. And then we divide by 4. So x is 16. I have to take those values, or take that value, and substitute it back in place of each of these x's. So 7 times 16 plus 33. 7 times 16 is 112. Plus 33, that's 145. You could take the value of x and substitute it in here, but I always like to do the thing that's the least amount of work. I know that these angles are supplementary. I know that B has to be supplementary to that angle, so I could just do 180 minus 145 and find out that that angle has to be 35 degrees. I'm going to check to make sure that I did that correctly. I'm going to plug in the 16 there just in case. That's 48. Sorry, negative 48. Plus 83. That's also 35, so I did do that correctly. All right, here we're trying to find angle, the measure of angle S. That's how I would read that. That says the measure of angle S. So I want to find out that angle. What do we know about those two angles? That is the first thing you should always be asking yourself. What do I know about these two angles? Together, they're forming that straight line. So they have to add up to 180. They are supplementary. They add to 180. So 2x plus 30 plus 2x minus 10 adds up to a total of 180. I'm going to combine like terms. That would give me 4x. Combine more like terms. That would give me 20. It's 30 minus 10, so that's a positive 20. I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. Get that 4x equals 160. So x is 40. We're looking for the measure of angle S, so I'm going to take that value and substitute it back in. In place of that x, I'm going to put 40. 2 times 40 is 80. Minus 10 is 70. Last one, now I'm looking for angle J. So same idea, I'm looking for that angle. I have to figure out what is the value of x first so I can substitute it back in. Before I do any of that, I have to decide what is the relationship. Are they supplementary, are they vertical, or are they complementary? These two angles together form a right angle. They form that perfect corner there, so they're going to add up to 90. They are complementary angles, so they add up to 90 degrees. So 5x plus 1 plus 6x plus 1 equals 90. Combine like terms, gives me 11x plus 2 equals 90. Subtract 2 from both sides, gives me 11x equals 88. Divide by 11, x is 8. I'm looking for angle J, so I'm going to take that x value and substitute it back in. In place of that x, I'm putting the number 8. That's 48 plus 1. Oops, I already did it. Sorry. 48 plus 1 is 49. I'm going to double check just to make sure that I did this correctly. I'm going to take that x value and substitute it in there too. 5 times 8 plus 1. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1 is 41. 41 and 49 put together gives me that right angle of 90 degrees. So I must have done that correctly too.